Welcome to the Crownsmen Show, everyone. I'm here with my co-host, Rory Bamford. It's our first episode recorded in 2025, so this will probably come out in February, but I'll still say it. Happy New Year, gentlemen. Good to see you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
What was the highlight of the holidays? Bad, or it could be cranky old men version of it, or it can be a happy one.
No, family version of it. Had all our family here and the new grandchild and all the grandchildren and my two kids, and my mother made it down, and it's great to get everyone together.
Yeah,
Rory,
it's
how about
first
you?
Christmas with baby, so it was fantastic. How old is your new grandchild, Roy?
She was born at the end of August.
Okay, so yeah, close to.
So still a bebet.
We just had a gentleman. We just had a gentleman in the studio doing a Mining Now episode, Dorado Drilling, and his baby is 2 weeks old. And this guy, he's like a jiu-jitsu guy, like really fit, sort of rugged sort of dude. And he looked like he'd just been run over.
He was only 2 weeks out?
2 weeks out, yeah. He just stepped out for a couple hours to come to the show. But, yeah, he looked just absolutely – he still did a great interview, but he looked exhausted.
And, Jerrod, you had your Essie was 1, right? That's like her first like real Christmas in the Philippines?
Yeah, so we did Christmas and then – it's her first Christmas. She was just due.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
So because her birthday's
Did you
January 3rd.
dress up like Santa?
No, I
perpetuate the lie.
Yeah, I will. She's getting to an age now where we're close, but so we did Christmas and New Year's and her birthday all in the Philippines.
Where did you do Christmas?
Okay.
When you got to, did you do that in Manila or did you go out to Boracay then?
We did that. Where did we do?
Boracay.
We did Christmas right in Manila. Yeah.
You did, yeah.
Yeah, the Boracay, we just went out for vacation. I'll tell you a funny one about Manila. This is just an example of different cultures. So when you get out of the airport, this is the old part of there. The new one is probably different, but the terminal 1 of their airport, instead of numbers, it's letters. A, B, C, D. So you just tell people, "Oh, I'm at number B," or I'm at letter B. You go, okay. And this is what they do in the Philippines. But people would go to the number or the letter that is their last name. So I was, yeah. So, for example, 2 of the most popular last names in the Philippines are Reyes and Ramos. So the R is really busy, but the A might be pretty much empty.
Wait, what?
Yeah. It's just this ridiculous thing. But then you find out, it's part of the Filipino culture, when people go on trips, the whole family will come see them off. So they need a gathering place.
To make sure they leave.
Make sure they leave. In this case, it's them getting there. They all come and people greet them there. So everybody goes to R for the so you got all the Reyes and the Ramos, and they're all there. Ramos. Sorry, I'm saying it wrong. Anyway, it's just a funny thing where you're like, why would you design it like that? And it's literally designed for the culture. Pretty funny.
Amazing.
Yeah, what are we drinking today? This is brought to you by Cranky Old Men Drinking Beer. What are we drinking today, Roy?
We have a Steam Whistle today, and a little bit of background. It's a Pilsner. It is one of the top 10 beers in Canada in terms of consumption, and one of only 2 that's a craft brewery. Roy. So you've got the big brewers, but it's an independent brewery, and we're going to sample their Pilsner today.
Roy,
Awesome.
Don't they have PDAC? Doesn't PDAC have a lot of events at this? Don't they have like an actual
Yes,
pub?
they do. The brewery is in Toronto, right downtown, and it's right near the convention center.
Oh, right. I think Mind Connect has sometimes Mind Connect has their event there.
It might be the North Ontario event.
Noms, the pavilion.
Yeah, which Mind Connect does, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Shout out to Marla.
We've had a few beer there over the years.
Oh, yeah, a couple. I'm excited. Well, cheers.
My pour, every time. I'm never focused on the pour.
Look at that pour.
Devin, I don't need you laughing in the
Sorry.
studio. I'm already self-conscious enough. Oh, by the way, Petrocana Lubricant sent me this mug.
Hey,
Beautiful Yeti.
Sorry,
I must
Rory.
say.
Nice.
I'm gonna send
Hi.
an email to Sarah. Shout out to hi Sarah. Be like, hey,
I have my own cozy.
get
Yeti.
that out of here. Get that out of here. Oh my.
You know how I know that Devin is from a cold place, by the way? Devin, what did you say to me the other day? You're like, because you were in Winnipeg, right?
Yeah, I went back home to visit family, and I think I came in and I said, I was like, oh, one day wasn't too bad. It was like minus 40 or something.
You
and
said it wasn't cold. Wasn't cold the whole trip. It only got down to minus 24.
Yeah, minus 24 or something like that. And it
I'm like, that's
it
cold.
spiked at minus 40, but when you're in minus 40 and it goes down to like minus 24, 25, it feels like it's summer. I don't know. It's like totally different.
So cold. So
I
cold. You
just
had to jumpstart the toaster.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk about our Heavy Industry World Tour brought to you by Sabinow Equipment. Find, market, and sell surplus and used equipment. We are heading to events across North America and Australia and filming episodes on location. Email us at info@crownsmen.com to be part of Crownsmen's Heavy Industry World Tour. Did you know cementitious binders can be responsible for up to 70% of the total GHG footprint of mine backfilling processes? Now you can replace up to 50% of the binder in your mine backfill operations with Graybond, Graymont's new low-carbon cementitious binder. This lime-based alternative binder maintains a 40 to 70% lower GHG footprint compared to typical cement and can adapt to varying mine conditions without compromising performance. Learn more about Graybond at graybond.com. Join us in the depths of the mining world, where global leaders and industry giants converge to shape the future of mining. From groundbreaking technologies, advanced machinery, revolutionary safety measures, to sustainable initiatives. This is the voice of mining. This is Mining Now. Showcase your company to millions worldwide. Book your episode now. Visit crownsmen.com.
Sorry, Roy. We completely derailed your no pun intended. We completely derailed your backstory on the beer we're drinking.
Yeah, so there's a little bit more to it, and it did receive 2024 Gold Award for craft brewing for the Pilsner. I quite enjoy it. It's quite an easy drink, and it's kind of one of those beers that's a fridge stocker. It's it's quite accessible, and there's a side story to this that I wanted Rory's comments on, because I think it was about a year or two ago, there was a merger of equals, which in the stock market and certainly in mining, we talk about a lot. Two companies that are very similar come together, and Steam Whistle and Bose came together as a merger of equals. And within 6 months, Steam Whistle had bought out Bose, because the reality is, no matter how equal two groups are, something eventually has to give. That's my opinion anyway. So there's a business aspect to this as well.
They must know. Do the companies know that? Because you hear those kind of stories quite often. Do they kind of know it, and they just sort of do the merger first, and then what do you think?
I think they do know it, because you have to look ahead to succession and leadership.
Yeah.
And in a merger of equals, you eventually are going to have one leader. And who is that leader going to be? Sometimes it's a natural progression. There might be one company where a leader is looking to retire, and the leader of the other company is up and coming. So it makes sense from a leadership perspective too. But so Rory, we were talking about merger of equals because Steam Whistle and Bose did just that, and then Steam Whistle eventually bought them out. I think
So
6
the
months
second
later.
company was, what is the company? The second
Called
one?
Bose.
Bose, okay.
BEAU.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And actually, we have one of their beer we'll sample on a future show.
Nice.
But yeah, so we kind of segued into a business topic in terms of merger of equals.
Got it. Is that, well, I'll just let you continue the discussion and I'll pick it up. I just had to run back.
Well, yeah, I was just asking Roy if people plan, because you see these mergers where they're like it's a, and then you see one brand clearly take over, their logo goes big. There's actually there's a cool story about, I think it was a toilet paper brand, and they had to you'll see it with toothpaste. We'll do it too sometimes. There'll be a merger or an acquisition or something, And what they'll do is over the years, they'll slowly make one logo bigger than the other.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting to watch, and it really works because you then get conditioned to go, okay, this is the new brand.
Yeah, from a marketing perspective, you want to leverage as much as possible the goodwill of both companies.
Yeah.
But over time, you don't want to confuse your market either.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good topic.
So you eventually bring it all together.
That goodwill is a good one for I should bring that up because like there's a lot of like nonsense that goes around goodwill with acquisitions and stuff like that. But there's
Financially,
also, yeah, but there's also like very, very there's a very true aspect of it, like the intangibles, like brand strength, things like that. Like when you talk about like Coca-Cola, things like that. It's a good one. I'm gonna make a note because it'd be a good one to touch on, like jump into at some point.
Effortless Corporate Traveler Management is here with Corporate Traveler Canada. Boost your business with trusted expert solutions that save time, money, and enhance the traveler experience. Trusted by thousands of companies worldwide. Book and track your travels on your phone or let your dedicated consultant handle it for you. Enjoy 24/7 support and live chat from any time zone and get real-time travel alerts anywhere you go. Your next business trip just got easier. Learn more about Corporate Traveler Canada at corporatetraveler.ca. Attention builders, we've got everything you need to know about the grit and grind of the construction world in one show. The Construction Show is where you can share your expert techniques and strategies to help keep the crew strong and construction sites secure. From foundational tips, industry trends, safety strategies to advanced equipment and machinery. Be part of the voice of construction. Book your episode and showcase your company to millions worldwide. Visit crownsmen.com.
Yeah, I was just listening to a thing. What's that show on CBC, the marketing show? It's actually quite good.
Do they still run that marketing show?
Yeah, they're in like their 14th season.
That's what's the
really?
guy's name?
Yeah, it's a really good show. We'll bring it up on the screen. And he was talking like
we need to find the name of
the
it.
guy who invented the Zamboni. I'm sure there's 100 brands of Zambonis now, but we still call them Zambonis.
Oh yeah, right. That's the Zamboni is a brand.
Yeah, Zamboni he called it a Zamboni, but his last name was Zamboni.
Is it Under the Influence with Terry O'Reilly?
Yeah, really good show.
Nice.
Yeah.
We should call this show Under the Influence too.
He might sue us if he's been on for 14 years. We should get him on the show, though. He'd probably have all sorts of interesting things. He might not respect us, though. We don't know about that. What do you got, Rory? You got an interesting topic looking here. Why don't we jump into that?
Okay, yeah. So I'm reading. This is my partial review of like 45 pages into Getting to Yes. Roy, have you read the book Getting to Yes?
No.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I couldn't resist that.
That's not how we start this negotiation.
I think I have, Rory, and the reason I say I think I have is I actually give a course on negotiation, and I've read many books on it, and I've actually been to a number of workshops on it, and so
Okay, great.
it's a big part of contracting, obviously. So
Yeah, actually, yeah, and that's one of the reasons I thought it'd be interesting. Charlie Munger recommended and like would give this book out to people all the time. So obviously in negotiation, if I go into a car dealership and I go, okay, you're selling that car for 20, I can only pay 14. There's like the low ball and you try and like meet somewhere in the middle. Basically, this method that they're talking about in Getting to Yes is basically removing all those like initial obstacles, like that, almost like, well, and it says in here like these pages from it, like the problem, and it's just it's bargaining. It's what game should you play, and it's talking more about the solutions, like what each party wants, and instead of just going straight into like softball, hardball, that sort of thing. So I've actually noticed that even like in day-to-day interactions, like going to a vet, if you're looking for a discount, things like that, there's, instead of going straight into, oh, this is just about the money, like kind of like talk about the reason why there should be a better, like you can give a better value. So I find
you're
it very
talking about negotiating with your vet.
Yeah. Roy, out of every,
So we'll only do 2 paws, and what'll that cost me? I don't understand.
Yeah.
No, I was just listening to another podcast where this guy is very successful, but he said, I didn't even know this. You can negotiate furniture, jewelry, and vets. You can
Okay,
always negotiate.
I didn't know that either. And vets are expensive.
And they're as expensive as they want to be. There's no regulation. There's no.
Nope.
They can charge $1,000. There's a vet in Vancouver.
I love this vet.
Yeah, they're
Haven't
called.
used them.
And
I love
I'll
them.
give them a shout out. They're called Atlas.
Okay.
The people that run it are Indian, as in East Indian. They actually won a lawsuit against the governing body for vets. We can bring that up on the screen too. Whatever that body.
Shout out to them.
Yeah, they sued because the organization got caught being discriminatory to them. Because
really?
in the basis of it was, if everybody else charges $500, they'll charge $200. So their rate, and they're amazing. It's where we take our dogs. Amazing clinic. And there's like a lineup, like there's people like in the waiting area for them. They're so busy. And I'm sure they make great money because of that, because they're just
volume.
Yeah,
volume business.
But they won the lawsuit. And the guy who owns it's very proud of it. He's got the stories like all over the walls.
Yeah.
So it's like he's not hiding it at all.
Well, they went after him. Because basically what I took from it is, I don't want to get sued either, but basically what I took from it is he in their minds, he was undercutting the market.
Yeah.
But delivering great service. Roy, you've seen their reviews.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I called them because I had a procedure that I needed to do, and I'm like, oh boy.
Wasn't it like $500 less or something?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Rory, it's for your pets. Like, you can't go in there and get something done.
I haven't asked this one yet. Maybe basic.
Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe I misunderstood.
Anyway, going back to the negotiation, but that is the thing. Like obviously, there's a whole bunch of things that they give the options for. So soft participants are friend. This is for the game you should play. Participants are adversaries. Participants, the principled way, participants are problem solvers. So I actually like that for starting out on the base. And Jerrod and I right now are having to do some negotiations, and not with each other, but at least not yet.
Roy, could you take 50% less, because I'm looking forward to a raise.
No comment again. But the problem solving aspect, it's kind of like if you both see the value in something, kind of start out in that regard, because then you're kind of removing the person aspect of it, especially if they're ever dealing with something like with family, that as well. That can be a really good tool.
So Rory, sorry, I'm trying to understand, because I hadn't looked at this chart yet. So is this you trying to pick you're trying to figure out where people land for the negotiation?
Well, yeah, and you're also putting out things like as an example, like the problem, again, we're trying to decide which game to play. The goal is agreement. The goal is the soft part of it. The goal is agreement. The goal is victory. But the principle is a goal is a wise outcome reached efficiently and amicably. So instead of the parties come to an agreement, but they basically fought themselves through it, kind of get both parties what the value is for both sides. And then you start out with that, and then you figure out from there, okay, what will benefit both parties, and what's that agreement that we can come to. So, and it keeps going from there. It's separate the people from the problem. So be soft on the people, but be hard on the problem. Very, very key. We're not trying to go in there and hurt people's feelings. We're trying to go in there we're all people in this, and you see this when you're dealing with if you're dealing with anything from a tax organization, and I've done this on the finance side. It's amazing when you're kind of working through something with a person, and you're like, okay, I can't pay this all at once, but what about this? Or I've even done the thing I remember this example, and this it's CRA, it's dealing with CRA years ago, but I said I don't know what kind of terms you can extend for this, and 12, and she's like, well, no, we can go 36. I'm like, really? Okay, well, that's fantastic if you could do that. And they just, because we had an amicable conversation about it, it was an easy. They knew we wanted to pay off the debt, and they were able to facilitate that.
So I kind of have I'd like both your thoughts on this. So I have, over the years, and I've done this a few times, both with like staff that we're bringing or contractors, but I've also done a negotiation with like organizations we're working with. I feel like I've gone too soft. I've been like almost too easy to get along with in the beginning. And then what's happened is I felt like the people take that as like, oh, you can almost like get pushed around. But I know where my line is. So then as soon as they hit that wall, then I go, no.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden now I'm hard to get along with. And I feel like I should have been tougher in the front end so that they kind of knew, okay. Because I've tried to get along, and it's almost created more problems, I feel like.
Yeah, I think that's what it actually talks about.
Yeah. There's a couple things, some great points there, Rory. We talk about, or when I talk about negotiation with our people, I try to explain it's a creative process. It's not adversarial. It's not technical. And what you're trying to do is figure out what the challenges are and figure out solutions for them. And that's actually the fun part, the creative part.
Right.
There's a whole bunch of things, Jerrod, when you talked about, Herb Cohen talks about, or his mantra is, you got to care, but not that much. And it's to remove the emotion.
Right.
And but the other thing he talks about is listening. Is the important part of negotiation is listening, because you assume what the other party is looking for. And sometimes it's basic things, but you've got to listen, and and it's easy to start out in contracting because you just want the client to explain their project.
Right.
Tell us about your project, how important it is to your company, what are the key aspects of it. Instead of me sitting down and saying, we're a great company, we've done this, this, and this, we've sunk this many shafts, we've done all this. Just shut up and listen and really try and understand what the other party is all about. And it's more than just something on budget and on time. There's lots more to it than that.
Rory, I'm curious. Have you done the other one where you talk about how many shafts you've sunk and you go through that whole thing? And have you done both? And can you compare the difference when you do the listening as opposed to the sort of showcasing method?
Yes, because there's always a risk in any business that you come across as arrogant. And if you're not listening to your client and you're just talking about yourself, it's the same in anything, right? It's not even business. If we sit down for dinner and all you hear is about how great I am or how great my kids are, or we did this or we did that, it's a pretty one-sided conversation.
I can honestly say I do not do that with my kid. People even say I go too far the other way.
Yeah, well, we've seen the pictures Anyway, we won't give you an opportunity to put that on the screen again.
No.
But
actually, Jerrod, you said about that thing. I wanted to quickly get this in for because you said about there's like they say like the soft version of like a negotiation is yield the pressure, and then there's the hard version which is apply pressure. Jerrod, from what you're saying is I think what they would counter to both those is reason and be open to reason. Yield the principle, not pressure. So I think that's where, again...
So yield to principle?
So reason and be open to reason, yield to principle, not pressure. So I would take that as if they came back with a counter of, yes, you're offering this value, but we think, etc., could that potentially affect the price, as an example? Then you might go, okay, yeah, actually, I do see your point in that. Let's see what we can do on that, because that is that's valid. Having more of like that sort of dialogue, because I know for me, like I don't like negotiations, except now I'm like experimenting with it, so I'm like I do actually like
it's starting to get more fun.
But again, what I always didn't know, I didn't know how to go onto a dealership, as an example. And if you're selling me a leased car that's used, this is an easy one. Like for me, I can think, okay, how long? This is a 2020. it's 2025. So this is a 4-year-old vehicle or 5-year-old vehicle. So that means you already made all the financing off of it. Now you're selling it. I know there's going to be room in that leased vehicle. So if it's the one I want, I can start going in, okay, this is a lease. So, and basically use that for the negotiation. So if they're trying to make 50%, maybe I can get it down to them making 30% as an example. Now, I don't know how to get to that process, but it gives me a lot more tools in thinking like I could actually like outline that to them so they would understand that I know like that business model.
Sorry,
so
I don't want to get something lost here because it's actually helpful for me. So I want to go back to that. A little bit of this is like when you're in the weeds already. Where I find myself weak is on the front end of the negotiation, those first talks. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, and again, this is to both of you, is that first sort of setting the tone for what the negotiation. Because sometimes
I want to hear Roy's.
I just want to clarify something.
I've got the answer for you, Jerrod, and we talk about this all the time. Is preparation.
Okay.
How much work did you do beforehand?
Right. Before
sitting down. To understand what the other party is looking for, to understand some background. There's a whole list of things that we talk about in terms of preparation for negotiation, including establishing your boundaries. What's and Rory referred to it. What's the end goal from your perspective? What would you picture as a win-win?
Yeah.
And just talking about this is really good because most people they do their job and okay, I've got to meet with so-and-so on Friday and we'll negotiate then. We, you asked about examples and I remember one project in particular where the client said, often in these large projects, the negotiation goes on for months and there's a lot of nickel and diming and it's a draining process, but this client was very interesting. They said, we're going to book a room at a hotel in between our two offices, which I thought was very interesting. Meeting halfway, literally.
Yeah.
And we're going to spend 2 days on it. And Roy, we want you there, and we want your VP. We want the two top guys there. And by the end of the second day, we want to sign a contract. And we did it. And I remember at one point, the guy I was negotiating with, one of the guys, because they had two guys there. And he goes, well, don't get me wrong. I'm not the cheapest guy in the world. And I said to him, don't sell yourself short. And so we had a good rapport. And then, at the end of the first day, we have dinner, we chat, and we ended up with what I felt was a really interesting, innovative win-win contract.
So were they almost having...
That doesn't usually happen.
They were almost having fun setting up the negotiation because it kind of outlined like what they wanted to get done in those 2 days, it sounds like.
I think both parties had prepared for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going in, it was, I think, a $300 million job, so it's a big job. And I don't want to say pressure. It was kind of refreshing for someone to say, after 2 days, we're going to sign a contract.
Right.
Instead of this dragging out. And so the people that could sign it were there from both parties.
Yeah.
So let's get her done.
A question I have then. So they obviously had talked to your company and others, and they were selecting your company. So
we had made a detailed proposal, had gone back and forth on some details of it, but the back and forth was from a technical perspective, not a commercial.
Okay.
So what if you did it this way, and what's in scope and what's out? Just clarifying everything.
That wasn't price involved. That was technical involved.
Understanding what's involved in the price.
Yeah.
How much risk is included in the numbers you gave? What kind of contingency? What is in and what isn't? We don't want any surprises.
Right.
So all of that work beforehand was done to enable us to go through the commercial.
How long does it take to prepare that technical part of it? Like, is it months beforehand for prep?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. When you're talking about prep, I'm actually just have a meeting on Monday that I'm going into, which is we're filming this on Thursday. So in a couple of days, I'll go in a few days. And in the last, so we'd worked with this company for almost 2 years. I just don't want to say the name because it's an ongoing, but we worked for this company for a couple years, or with them, and he made a comment in the last time I saw him. He said, I got to take this, like, basically I got to justify this to shareholders. I didn't even know there were shareholders. I thought he was the shareholder.
Okay.
So somewhere 2 years ago, I didn't ask that question.
About like the approval process.
Yeah,
you mean?
I didn't know he's got. Now, he might have said a board. I forget the exact word he used. But he's got people that are reviewing what we're doing with them. And they're starting to want numbers. So I thought, oh, I'm not just trying to make him happy. We're not just trying to make him happy. We're trying to make a group of people happy.
Well, like
And
Dennis,
I didn't know
Jerrod,
that. I just didn't
Dennis says, shout out, hi Dennis. But
Dennis.
he has the same thing. Like I won't mention the name because I don't want to divulge those details. But they had to take now with our products we're selling or services, they had to take it to the board for approval, and they got approval. Awesome. But that is a big part of like for our process now is because we're basically going into this new tier to be like basically the biggest reach for an online platform. It inevitably is going to be more financial considerations, so they have to get the necessary approvals. But it's great because they're going through it, and you get the chance to explain like what each detail is about what they're getting and what the value is, and they get to ask all the questions of what they need to take to their board, of course. So it is interesting. I find it much more invigorating on the sales call because you get to unpack like all the details sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic.
So I'll tell you what happens in the real world, because if someone says they're going to their board for approval, and I'm on a few boards, and when people come to the board for capital, what happens is management recommends something. So management recommends to us $900 million job, and here's the budget for it, and here's how we're going to fund it, which is the part that the board is more interested in than which contractor you're going to bring in.
Right.
The real approval is either the CEO or the VP or whoever is going to present that to the board, because they're the one making the recommendation to the board.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the board, there's governance there. There's a checkpoint. I mean, if as a board member I see something that's really wrong, I'll flag it.
Right.
But I will very, very rarely counter a management recommendation.
I have a quick question on this, Roy, because this is interesting. So, like in our world, it's a lot of marketing managers that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
So, in what you're saying is the marketing manager comes in, they present, like, say, their marketing strategy. You're not going to be like, oh, yeah, no, I'm going to flag this unless you, for some reason, you went through something and you saw something that was like, you're like, that's a red flag, basically.
I will say we kind of are because we're new, right? If a mining company's going to Mine Expo, you might decide on how big of a booth, how much budget you're going to put into it. Everybody knows Mine Expo. We're going to be on mining now, and we're going to get our VP on for an hour talking online to 50 to 100,000 people.
What is it?
That's going to get flagged.
No, you're right, Jerrod.
Yeah.
You're right, Jerrod, because typically what gets approved is a budget.
Yes.
Not the details of how it's spent. And if the budget includes CIM or Mine Expo or World of Concrete or whatever, they're standard things, and there's, nobody really questions that. You go every year, you do, that's what you do. But when you do something new and you are asking the VP or the CEO to be on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really good. This is really good information. Like even just like hearing it from you, because like with the board experience, because you don't really think of that, but like obviously it's a new product. But when you go as you grow and you want to reach more and more people, I was on a meeting with a potential client. It was funny because she said, yeah, like nobody's looking up what we do. Mm-hmm. Like if there's no promotion behind it and you go on podcast, like an organic podcast with no promotion, I like the search words for what they do because it's so technical and like nobody's ever going to see it. So she understood like, there's a production aspect, the promotion aspect, but I like what you're saying, Roy, like that. And Jerrod, you mentioned like new mining now. You want to bring who to do what to
You're
talk
getting
about
flagged.
what?
You're a feature that'll get flagged, and we do. And you need to. I think to add to that is, and I think especially younger companies, I see it, and this is not an age thing. I'll see CEOs that are 50, 60 years old, but they're managing a younger company, and they're frustrated with the market response. But Roy, what you just said is exactly. You're getting flagged. Yeah. Because you're new.
And you should get flagged. You
like I think of that company like SafeSite. Yeah. Right? They're new. They make some great products, but they're new. Like companies aren't just going to stick them in the mine. Like you're going to have to. I just had a couple drinks with someone yesterday, one of our clients, and he was in meetings with one of the biggest mining companies in the world. I think he's meeting here with the Canadian. Now he's got to go to the U.S. to do another meeting, he's huge for their company. And I said, "Do they put you through the ringer pretty good?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, like they just hammering them." But they haven't even been around 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a great product. Lots of big companies use them, but a major, one of the top 5 mining companies in the world, they're gonna hammer you before they'll green light anything. Right, it's good to know your positioning, even in terms of how long your company's been around.
This could be, a 3-hour Joe Rogan episode there, without the wrestling in it.
I got time. Well,
I've got until
Devin,
2, so I'm good.
Why are you writing all these notes? For this negotiation, do we got something coming?
Maybe. I'm just taking.
Yeah, we'll talk after.
Devin, his pen is just steaming.
This is good. This is good.
Well, on a different topic, I will say I went to going back to the Philippines because we were there for a few weeks. So, Roy, have you ever heard of San Miguel beer?
Yes.
Yeah. Have you ever drank one?
I have. I've never reviewed one. I've had one in the past, but
did you bring
I'll have to look for it.
I don't even understand how I didn't bring any back. My apologies. Honestly, we were sick pretty much the whole trip, so I was just trying to survive going all over the Philippines with a 1-year-old. So, and we were all sick. It was wild, but
brutal.
But if you go to the Philippines, you drink San Miguel. It's everywhere. Yeah. But then if you look into the company, it's wild. They're about, in U.S., I think their revenue is about $24.5 billion. They started in 1927. They started. No. I did the numbers wrong. I got to get this right.
Uh-oh.
We better let Rory research some of these numbers.
I don't know. No. I don't know.
You're the color commentary, Jerrod.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know when they started making beer. I forgot to look that up. But then in 1927, they started bottling Coca-Cola. In 1981, they spun off their business to become Coca-Cola bottlers. So if you're driving through the Philippines, you'll see these big Coca-Cola things. So that's San Miguel. Keeping in mind, everywhere you go, there's beer, you see San Miguel. So they're everywhere in beer, everywhere for Coca-Cola. Then in 2001, they bought Pure Foods Corporation, which is the biggest food corporation in the Philippines. Then...
Tender, juicy hot dogs.
Yes. Have you ever... Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
Hey, the ingredients nobody knows.
Oh, but they do go really well
Nobody
with
wants
beer.
to know.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to know.
2 a.m. though, San Miguel and some juicy hot dogs with a little red dye in them. Oh boy. And yes, they do put red dye in them. Then in 2008, they required a 40% share in PNOC by 50, and then in 2010, they acquired 50.1% of Petron, which is the gas station you see all over. the place.
Is it like a in the Philippines? Is it pretty much like one gas station?
No,
or
there's
a
other
few
ones.
brands?
It would be similar to seeing a Petro-Canada, though. They're just kind of everywhere. They're not the
Oh,
only ones.
They trade in Hong Kong.
There you go. My wife's father was a banker in Hong Kong, so that's all sort of So you see how they're just expanding and expanding. Now they also, and I don't know the year they started doing this. Now they also own a whole bunch of private toll highways.
Oh
yeah.
So you drive through the Philippines, and what you do is you drive basically up and above the city.
Oh, like in Mexico.
Like these double deckers.
Yeah.
And you drive through, you pay your toll, and you fly through the city.
No, the Cementation's parent company, Murray & Roberts, had what they call how train, which was a toll transportation system, and it's high capital, but it's low operating costs and long-term good revenue.
Yeah.
So you get to that break-even point where your cash flow overtakes your operating costs, and you begin to, it becomes a cash cow, but you have to have the money up front to do it.
Actually, I want to add this for another future topic, because I was thinking about it. Like, there's this, because I saw like San Miguel, they had lost money last year, and Jerrod, you said they probably bought a highway.
Yeah.
So do you know what I love about like these companies that make massive profits, especially if they're in like not manufacturing, but if they're in like construction, as an example. If they make $1 billion in profit, are they good to just keep that and like build up on that, or should they go and get another $10 billion in debt financing that they only have to pay once a year, and then in 10 years, as they grow, they just have to basically do a swap or even borrow more? And so what's interesting is it's a good debate. Like, would it be better for shareholders in the company to bring on that extra cash flow, because they know with that $1 billion they made, they can probably service that for 10 years?
Well, the question, just quickly though, is is it a good operating move, or is it good for the shareholders? Because sometimes those kind of have different motivations, right?
Can you spend that capital to bring proper return?
Yeah, and keep the shareholders on board.
Or are you just sending out interest payments and have this wall of cash that you can't distribute?
Well, what I thought was interesting with them is if you sort of see that chronology of what they did, it's like, okay, we started bottling beer, now we're bottling Coca-Cola, now we're buying food, similar, but we're getting outside a little bit.
Now we're bottling traffic.
No, now we're buying the gas to fuel the traffic.
Yeah.
Now we're buying that long-term heavy infrastructure.
It's
pretty interesting.
Jerrod, it reminds me, and we might have mentioned this before, but the beer store in Ontario. And when I talked to the CEO of the beer store, 30 to 40% of their revenue was distribution. It wasn't sales.
Yeah,
and
distribution. Okay.
Yeah. So you're a brewer, and you want to put your beer on the shelves. Well, you can hire a truck and ship to all the different beer stores, or you can have the beer store pick up your stuff and ship it.
Right.
And so these services, which may appear at first glance to be, separate, become integral. And then the next step is, well, we've got good at distribution. So what do we distribute next? We've got a fleet of trucks.
Yep.
We distribute all over the province. So I kind of picture the same thing happen there with San Miguel. We're bottling beer. We're good at bottling.
Yeah.
Well, what's the most popular drink in most countries?
Yeah. And
Coca-Cola or whatever. So let's go to them with a deal. We'll bottle your drink for you here. So it's interesting because you talked about pivots before, right?
Yeah, it's like, is that a
that's
pivot?
Pivoting on a skill that you've developed.
They're almost like snowballing themselves, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
The beer store is also, it's private, right? Like, not like the BC liquor store here, but in the beer store,
In Ontario, it's owned by a number of different companies. So
This-
it's,
I looked
it's a
it up,
private
and it said-
enterprise.
Brewers Retail Inc. doing business as the beer store is
Yeah.
a privately owned chain. So they're private. Oh, I like
Yeah, the
like
LCBO, the liquor store, is government
Oh, okay.
managed, but
Okay.
the beer store is a private enterprise. And I think I can't remember if a 30% shareholder is Corona, or one of the big
Oh, really?
brewers is actually a majority,
There's-
a large shareholder in it.
There's a lot of these
interesting.
building businesses like San Miguel, but even in Canada, my brother-in-law works for a furniture store. They've got this one store, and I've been in it, and it's nice furniture, but I just thought, how are they, like, they can't make that much money at this. And there were 3 floors. It looks like they own the building, just how they've just sort of made it, put it all together. And I was just kind of confused by it. Well, then I find out, yeah, because that's just their retail location, which is just a tiny part of their business.
Yeah.
They're distributing out to all these other stores. They're just the middleman, like
Yeah.
their distribution, and they're a big business. They're
There's a
major
company
player.
that does it for like Walmart, and it's owned by, of course, Buffett and Munger. I mean, I never mentioned them. You have to look them up. But
Could you just give some background on who Buffett is? 'Cause
he's a guy on Omaha. Anyway, the distribution thing, they're only making like 1% profit, but they're moving so much volume it doesn't matter because they're moving for Walmart, and they have the system almost down to it is a science.
well, like they talk about all the millionaires that Costco has made,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Off of these tiny little margins. But yeah, a lot of these companies, you see them, like if you just went to the Philippines for a trip, you'd come back, you'd have no idea that the whole time you were there, if you weren't drinking a beer and you were drinking a Coca-Cola, and then you're driving on a highway and filling up the whole time, you're just and eating a hot dog, you're putting money into San Miguel. It's just incredible. It's incredible that they really, that whole value chain. Roy, do you have any interesting topics? I like I like that you're going full on Canadian. You're making sure everyone knows.
Yeah.
I am Canadian. I'm not drinking a Canadian, but I am Canadian. I think, this is the most, once every 4 years, Canada gets nationalistic. And
Not
it's
me.
not election, it's Winter Olympics, actually, that does it for us.
Nice. Nice.
But,
Yeah, that's good.
but it's
That's
interesting what's happened now. There's some national pride. I mean, I married an American, but
As did
I didn't. I married for love. I didn't want to become an American. Well, it was a career move too, but I didn't marry to
Shouldn't say
become
that,
an
Roy.
American.
Shouldn't say that. This is getting recorded.
My wife doesn't watch this show, so
Mine doesn't either.
she has much better taste than I do. So,
Things get back.
but yeah, it's interesting time, and there's some national pride stirring.
Yeah.
From some of these proposals south of the border, and I've told people I love the U.S. I love the U.S. of A. I counted. I've been to 30 states.
Wow.
Wow.
Some for vacation, a lot of them for business.
I feel like you're going to
I went
bait
up
and
to Alaska
switch.
on a project. I've been to a lot of places, but I love going to the States. And contrary to, stereotypes, every place we've gone, the people have been really nice.
Oh, it's amazing.
I mean,
same.
we spent a lot of time in New York City, and Brooklyn area. My son worked there for a while, and the people there are great. And so I want to continue to be a great neighbor, and I want to visit. But I am Canadian, and I'm proud of it. So.
Okay, so you're not in the 13% because I took that poll and I'm not sure which way I was. Not kidding.
Wait, you and Kevin O'Leary or what?
But,
Yeah.
yeah.
Kevin's on speed dial right now.
I find Americans very down to earth. It is a good point, Roy. Like when you go to like the different states, I mean, every state is a bit different, which is also cool.
Definitely is, yeah.
But very down to earth people, friendly, great to do business with. Jerrod sold his soul.
I sold my soul, so yeah.
I have my green card, so no comment.
Will say when I went to New York, and because you hear all these crazy stories about New York.
Oh, you got to go to New York, right?
People were like helping us like find the directions, and they'd like walk with us to go. Like, I'm gonna be honest, it was a friendlier city than Vancouver.
Yeah.
It just was. And all the stories I heard, I thought it was going to be like this wild place. I mean, there's some wild stuff that happens in New York.
Sure.
That's it.
It's a big city, and they're, just like any.
My first time in Toronto, I realized I was like, oh, this is like the friendliest place I've been
Toronto's friendly
for Canada. Yeah. I'm like, oh, everybody's just like, and it's not, I don't know, it's just different. It's just but I think people call it like a mini New York, but people are very.
They're just direct.
It's just a lot of fun.
I think that's where people confuse it. It's just direct. Like, I will say the friendliest place, though, where, Devin?
Friendly Manitoba.
Friendly Manitoba. Oh, boy.
Yes, yes.
They actually don't get friendlier than out in that area.
I don't know. Newfoundland is gonna maybe challenge you on that.
Yeah, but their accent.
The East Coasters are pretty accommodating.
Yeah, but with the accent, it's kind of hard to take seriously, though. I gotta stop. Stop.
Jerrod's got that 5% liquid courage happening.
Yeah. We're going to be down to one viewing geographical area that's going to put up with this show.
It's just going to be one Albertan in America going, "Go America!"
Yeah.
But it's going to be.
I've done work in Manitoba. Yeah, Manitoba's a great. I mean, I've actually done work and been in every province in Canada.
Nice.
And that's one thing the job's allowed me to do. And like I say, most of the places in the States have been through work. Mm-hmm. But I've been really impressed with all of North America, to be quite honest.
It's funny though. It actually goes back to my point about being too soft in the front end though. I feel a little bit like that's what Canada's pulling. I feel like we just haven't done very much as a country, and I think stats back that up of like foreign investment and just growing our economy.
It's flat.
It's been
declining.
flat.
It's really annoying.
And then when we start getting challenged on it, by new administration comes in, starts saying stuff that's provocative. Then we get all up in a tizzy. And it's like, you should have been getting ready for this 10 years ago.
And we should be growing. We should be like every country operates like a country, or operates like a company. And they should there should be that growth aspect.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify. Like, it's not this to me. I am being pro-Canadian in this. It's like you want your country to be competitive.
Yeah,
and then. It kind of frustrates me when I see then Canada and the politicians all rolling out like they're all offended by that we're being challenged. It's like, well, you haven't been doing anything for 10 years.
The only thing new is new taxes. That's it.
Yeah, and some new tech companies.
I'll table something here, and Rory, you can fact check this because I looked at it and I thought this is really interesting. What's the process to become a state?
Yeah.
If somebody said you're going to become a state. And the last territory to become a state was Alaska in 1959.
Was it? It was 1959?
It was.
Oh, that's way later than it was.
So, that's way too long. There's got to be something new coming.
So there is, Jerrod. There is Washington, D.C.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Which is not a state, but a district. And as a district, they do not have the right to vote. So there's 700,000 citizens in Washington, D.C. that don't have the right to vote. There's been a move to grant Washington, D.C. statehood.
So that'd be 51st.
Yeah, that would be the 51st state.
Puerto Rico, too.
Yeah. Here's some other interesting facts.
Weird.
The citizens of Washington, D.C. don't have the right to vote, but they still pay taxes.
But in Puerto Rico, they don't pay the taxes.
Puerto Rico doesn't pay U.S. taxes. So there's been a move to grant statehood to Washington, D.C. Now, the people that have push that move forward are the party that have the most supporters in Washington, D.C. And the people that have said no to that are the party that don't have as many supporters in Washington, D.C. So it's not about rights anymore. It's unsurprisingly about politics.
I'm going to read this to you because this is really interesting. The Washington, D.C. isn't a state. It's a district. D.C. stands for District of Columbia. Yeah. Its creation comes directly from the U.S. Constitution, which provides that the district, not exceeding 10 miles square, would become the seat of the government of the United States. Congress established the federal district in 1790 to serve as the nation's capital.
So
it's really interesting.
If you want to interpret the Constitution, the intention was that the government would be in this little square.
Yeah.
Okay. And they would not have voting rights, and they would not pay taxes back. Well, there was no taxes back then anyway.
Nope.
But when the Constitution was drafted, I mean, nobody pictured 700,000 people in this 10 square mile area.
Well, keeping in mind that the people that made the Constitution were about 26 to 32 years old.
Also insane.
So anyway, I found it interesting that the process to become a state is quite lengthy and is certainly politically driven. So if Canada was, for example, if Canada was primarily Democrat, you might have the Democrats voting for us into statehood.
Oh, don't say that.
The Republicans saying, wait a minute now.
I mean, I'm for it, but please don't
Senate.
say that.
Or opposite.
Yeah.
If Canada was a state, they would be the largest state, both geographically and in terms of population.
And Roy, with the magic of editing, we're putting this right at the front, what you just said.
So we basically would be a freezing California is what you're saying.
Well, I think California, what's the population in California? 31, 32 million?
38 million.
Okay, so Canada is 41 million right now.
Yeah.
I just do have one question, though. If you had to give away a province, you had to do it, who would it be?
Oh, this is a good question. Okay. Not BC, no way.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. I wouldn't do it.
I'm going to say for
good negotiation.
Devin, Manitoba.
Whoa. Devin's just writing notes for his negotiation. Now you're going after him?
Yeah, no kidding.
What? Lord.
I would just say no.
Just say no. Okay.
It's like drugs, Jerrod. Just say no.
Just say, yeah.
I would say Canada actually, what Canada actually needs is Alaska. I think that should be ours.
I like that.
Yeah. I've always thought that. I'm like,
Alaska is very picturesque. Alaska's the wild frontier.
No, I don't want Alaska because that's like where all the crazy people have like escaped stuff
100%.
from the U.S. So you're just like
oil,
adopting like
oil, drill, baby, drill.
Yeah, but we got oil.
That's
just got
true.
We're fine. We're fine.
Yeah,
we don't need we don't need the crazy Alaskans. All right.
It is true. It's wild.
Alaska's a great state, picturesque state. People take holidays and take cruises up there.
And lose arms to grizzly bears. It's wonderful.
Well, that's just people foolish enough to wrestle one.
Or wasn't that one documentary, that guy that went and tried to hang out with him for a year or something?
Grizzly Man.
Well, that was in Alaska, wasn't it?
It was disturbing, the end of that.
He'd put on the outfit and wrestle with the grizzlies.
He loved the grizzlies.
Yeah, and he got eaten on camera.
Yeah.
Oh, they didn't release that footage in the movie.
It was. Remember Norm Macdonald and his skit on the crocodile hunter?
Oh yeah.
Everyone was surprised.
Yeah.
The crocodile hunter. He lived to a ripe old age for a crocodile hunter.
Well, in his book, when he takes the wish kid and he takes the kid seal hunting, it's a beautiful chapter. Beautiful chapter by Norm.
Well, I think we probably covered a few people that are now offended, maybe, hopefully.
Not Devin. That was all in jest. That's a joke. I love Manitoba.
Understood. It's okay. I was a little bit hurt about it, but I feel better now.
Yeah, I'd probably go Saskatchewan over Manitoba.
I would also go Saskatchewan.
Oh, 100%.
Saskatchewan's another great province.
Yeah, but if you have to pick, Roy, you got to pick something.
Bit Service is watching this going, why are they singling us out now? What is going on? We need to tag all the people we mentioned in this episode.
Together we're stronger.
Hey, Roy, we got to do your beer review too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What'd you think of this?
I'm waiting for you guys.
Right,
yeah,
Roy. What did you think
yeah,
of it?
you guys go first,
Right,
and then
yeah.
I sum up.
And I'm leaning back in my chair. I'm going to be getting yelled at by the editors. It was a good conversation, guys. It's been a while. It
was good. It was great.
And Roy and I were talking before we were going on about like freezing the ground for shaft sinking, and I'm like, mining is amazing. Mining is like incredible. It's incredible.
I didn't even know that was a thing. You freeze the
me
ground?
either. And I'm like, this is
Big thing.
It's unbelievable. It's so cool.
I have to ask.
So cool.
Couldn't you just wait till winter? I'm sorry to ask that question, but
Unlike what the Americans think, in Saskatchewan or Manitoba, it actually does get above 0
okay.
Fahrenheit in the summer. It actually gets quite warm. It's quite lovely.
All right, fine. So Rory, what did you think of this beer?
It's gone.
There you go. All right. So you liked it. Is that your rating? It's gone?
It's gone.
I think you should maybe splurge for Rory and get him a glass.
No, I'm going to send him this.
No.
I got the logos all around me, and this, you got to drink out of this. It'll keep
that's
it
true.
colder.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
And I think it was.
Thanks, Sarah.
It was good. I have to say,
You're not a Pilsner boy?
I am a Pilsner.
Oh, you are? This is way better than the Rabbit Pilsner.
This
I don't
is
like
strange.
that one.
I feel like this one gets better after 2 or 3. I feel like I would keep drinking it. I don't love the flavor at the very beginning, but it kind of was one of those beers that kind of like it holds the flavor.
I actually like the flavor from the first sip, but I was actually surprised because for a Pilsner I don't usually, but for this one I actually didn't mind it. What is the flavor of Pilsner? What is the flavor?
Yeah,
Well, Pilsner is a lager.
Oh.
It is?
So it's a malt-based beer. So it's not a wit beer. It's it's not wheat. It's not corn like a cerveza.
Oh, it is a lager. Okay,
it's a lager.
Slam them.
All Pilsners are lagers. And
Got it.
typically they'll have like a crisp finish. This one has a pretty smooth finish. It doesn't have much bitter to it. It is, like you said, Jerrod, it's it is a really easy drinking beer. And it's a beer, it's a fridge stocker. You could have a few of them.
Yeah.
Tailgate
Can we
kind
get
of beer.
these in BC?
Yes, you can.
Oh, nice.
They're right across Canada, as far as I know. I did see them in the store in BC. I brought a few out for you guys, but I didn't know at that time that they were in BC.
That's good to know because I actually would. This one I think.
Yeah, I'd buy this again. Yeah. So what did you rate it, Roy?
I give it a 16 because I think it's a really easy drinking Pilsner. It doesn't have that bitter or that acerbic kind of finish that some do.
Yes, that is the thing that I don't like. Like the Pilsners that have that really, this doesn't have that.
You want something crisp or a little bit dry, but you don't want that aspirin kind of taste.
Yeah.
So this is easy drinking, nice flavor, nothing over the top. It's, it's something I would keep in my fridge if we have people over and they want a beer.
You know what, Roy? I realized something very Canadian about you. I don't feel like it's that hard to get 15 or 16. Like you're going to be generous, but it's really hard for you to give like a 17, 18.
Well, the other thing to recognize is I'm picking the beer we're putting on the show, and usually I pick a beer which I like, which makes sense. Yeah. So it's not. A couple of beers have been random. We haven't tried them before, but a beer like Steam Whistle, I've had them before. I like them, and so I wanted to share them with you guys. So.
Well, thank you. I was just thinking.
How's that for being Canadian?
That is very Canadian. Last thing I was going to say is I just thought of something. A reason that I really want to just be Canadian is food regulations. I like that part of Canada.
Amen.
Because
amen.
I know our Fruit Loops don't look as good as the American ones, but
they taste better though.
But they taste better.
Here's another item, and this is for you, Rory. You can fact check it if you want. The national debt. Okay, so the national debt in Canada, if you figure it out per taxpayer.
Yep.
Okay, then it's about $71,000 per taxpayer.
Yeah.
Not per person, because not everyone pays taxes, and not per person that files, because not everyone that files pays taxes.
Share per person right now is $29,782, but that's everybody.
That's just divided by the population, but that's kids and everyone.
Yeah.
So right now about 71,000. In the U.S., it's over 400,000 per taxpayer. The U.S. national debt is and I don't know the history of it. I just looked up the numbers recently. So that's another question that would happen. You become the 51st state.
Yeah, now the debt is over 34 trillion, and that's over. What did you just say, Roy? Because now it's over 200,000 per taxpayer in the U.S.
Okay, so if you look at so what I thought it was over 400,000 per taxpayer.
It's per 200,000. It's 200,000 USD per taxpayer now.
U.S. dollars. Okay.
USD. Yeah.
So I got the numbers a bit wrong there, but the point is that the U.S. substantially more national debt, and I don't know the history there. That might be something interesting.
It's actually more now, Roy. It's now 36 trillion. It's national debt, so it keeps going. It's out of control. Yeah. But as their administration says, if they kind of like start actually like if they literally like slash some spending but increase production, that just like is a moot point, which is true. It is very true, but they have to do it.
Yeah.
That's a crazy number though per taxpayer. That's
it is. Number. It's I quoted Bruce Springsteen. You know, he does a song in Atlantic City, and the line in the song is, "He's got debts no honest man can pay."
Yeah.
And when you think about that, 70,000 per taxpayer. I mean, that's a lot of money, but
40 in Canada ranges between 47 to 64,000 now per Canadian. Obviously, that's in. This is 2022, so it's more than that now.
That's per Canadian, though, Roy. That's what Roy's saying, though. It's per taxpayer is different.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, why is it not? Yeah. Why is it not showing me the per taxpayer?
Anyway, I didn't want to put you on the spot there, Roy. I did a little bit of research on it, and whatever the difference is, it's substantial.
No, I'm
40,837.
I was all ready to buy a pet eagle and all kinds of crazy stuff, but I guess I don't know. I'll wait.
You can't do that.
We're 1.3 trillion in debt. 40,994 now. We're just slightly under the U.S. of A.
But if you've got a pet eagle, you've got a vet that's fairly cheap. So you've got a vet that can deal with your illegal pet.
Bird.
Sorry, I couldn't. You needed to get a.
If you ever go,
granddad pun in there.
If you ever go to Whistler, it's what is that called? Now I'm drawing a blank. What is
skiing?
No. Going up to Whistler, there's Squamish. And you go up, and you can go eagle watching along that river. That's something you should do. It's crazy. People don't realize how many eagles Canada has. We're already set up. We're ready to go. Okay. Anyway, with that.
Yeah, thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks for watching, everybody. I know. Oh, wow. Okay. There we go. It actually does make me proud when I see that.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll see you on the next episode.
Bye, everybody.